Hi, I'm Mark, and in this lesson we're going to look at how to play over a minor blues. So the way this lesson's going to work is you're going to see me play an example 12-bar blues over a minor chord progression, and then I'll come back and I'll take all the licks apart and show you them one by one, nice and slow. We'll then talk about 12-bar blues minor chord progressions and different ones that you might encounter. We'll also talk about the scales that you might use if you're improvising over a 12-bar blues that's in a minor key. When you listen to the solo, pay particular attention to lick 8 and 9 because there's some kind of interesting things going on there, and I'll explain those at the end of the lesson. And also watch the way that we start kind of quite low on the neck and throughout the solo kind of work our way up just using pentatonic scales. So here's the solo. So there you heard the solo, and what we'll do now is I'll take those licks apart and show them all one by one. Before I do, just like to say thank you to all those who support me on Patreon. It's a really big help and it allows me to do these kind of lessons. If you would like, whether you're a Patreon supporter or not, if you want the tab, look, checking the details below, you can email me and I'll send the tab over to you. There's also a backing track and there's a link in the section below. For those who support me on Patreon, you've got access to all those things. You can just download them from my Dropbox. Okay, so on with the lesson. Lick 1 goes like this. Okay, nice and slow. So minor pentatonic, box position 2, sliding. I'm working G string 2 to 4, and then B string 3 to 5. So they're the only notes that I'm using. And just watch that I'm going 2 to 4 on the G string, then 3 on the B, back to 4 on the G, back to 3 on the B string before sliding up to 5 on the B string. Nice and slow. And just give that a shake at the end. Important thing to note about this particular lick is that what we're doing is it's coming in before the solo actually properly starts. So this is kind of the intro lick. So on the bar before the first bar of the 12 bar, we're counting 1 and 2 and 3 and so that last note lands on the 1 of the first bar of the solo. Okay, it's just a timing thing. If you've been following my lessons at all, you'll know I do that kind of thing pretty much on every solo. Just have a little intro thing where you end the lick on the first beat of the first bar. Okay, so that was lick 1. Lick 2 now goes like this. Okay, so we're pentatonic, box position 3. We are anchoring off this E note here, which is root note of our chord progression. And we're hitting this twice. And then we're bending this note here, 8th fret, B string, up twice. And then we're going up to again, bending the 8th fret, up again, bringing it back down, going back down to the 5th on the B string. So far we've got this. and then what we're doing is we're sliding 7 on the G string up to where are we, 9 on the B string. And that note there, that E, is the root note of the chord progression. So again, we're just resolving back to that E. So that E there is actually the same one as there, where we actually started the lick. So the whole lick, nice and slow. Okay, lick 3 now. And lick 3 goes like this. Okay, and I'll do it nice and slow. So you might have noticed I quite like sliding from a D into an E when we're playing in an E minor. It just kind of works really nice. And here we're doing it again. So we're using the, where are we, 8th fret of the B string, 9 and 7 on the G string, 9 on the D string, and then we're sliding 7 to 9 on the G string. So nice and slow. Okay, lick 4 is now coming in over the A minor chord. So what we're going to do is we're going to outline a little pentatonic run and end on the A note, because that's going to be on you, the underlying chord. And again, like lick 1, this lick comes in on the previous bar. So this is actually the end of bar 4. And you're going to end this on the first beat of bar 5 on the A note. So the lick itself goes like this. Okay, and it's ending that A note there on, as I say, beat 1 of bar 5. So the actual lick, nice and slow. Okay, so we're using 9 on the G string, 8 and 10 on the A string, back to 9 on the G string, back to again 8, 10 on the B string, this time then sliding up to 12 on the B string before coming back to 10 on the B string, which is going to give you that A note. So again, nice and slow. Okay, so now we're up to lick 5, and lick 5 goes like this. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're playing, where are we, 10 to 7 on the top E, 10 to 8 on the B string, and then we're sliding 10 up to 12 on the B before coming back to 10 on the B. So the whole lick, nice and slow. Okay, and now lick 6 goes like this. Actually, it's exactly the same as lick 3. When I improvised the solo, I didn't actually realise I kind of repeated the same lick. But there you go. So lick 3 or lick 6, depending on what you want to call it. Again, nice and slow like this. I think when I played it as lick 6, I think I actually bent that that 8th fret B string up just slightly sharp. So you can bend it as much as you like. Bending that, because it's the flat 3 of the scale, bending that, it kind of makes it sound kind of nice and bluesy. Okay, that was lick 6. Lick 7 now goes like this. Okay, when I was improvising, I went to play this lick, and I don't normally play it quite like that. I actually normally play this lick like this. But for whatever reason, that's what I intended to play at that time, because that's normally what I would play over something like that. But for whatever reason, I ended up changing it and adding this kind of false start to it, so you get this. So you get an extra 2 notes at the start as to what I'd normally use. I mean, that's a lick I use over tons of blues songs, not just in minor keys. Anyway, as I played it in the improvisation, it goes like this. And so we're on 7 of the G string to 9 of the D string. We're doing that twice. And you'll notice I'm bending that G string quite a bit. Okay, and the other notes then are just 7 on the D string and then 10 on the A string before landing to resolve the lick on 9 on the G string, which is the E, which again is the note, it's the root note of the underlying chord progression. So that's always going to like resolve really nice. So nice and slow. And actually when you play that, you can actually pull that note on the A string slightly sharp if you want as well. You get this kind of thing. Anyway, cool little lick. Right, that was lick 9, I think. No, that was lick 7. And lick 8 now goes like this. Okay, so in the underlying chord progression, we've moved to a B7 chord, so we've got to address that somehow. So what we're going to do is we're targeting this B note, which is 12th fret B string. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to walk up to it from in the pentatonic. And then I'm going to play this little phrase. Okay, now at the end of the video, I'll go through exactly where these notes come from because we've slightly stepped out of pentatonic and into something else. We'll go through that at the end. But the actual lick goes like this, where we start 9th fret of the G string to 12 on the G, 10 on the A to 12 on the A. Then we're playing 10 hammer on to 11 on a top E string. So far we have this. And then what we're doing is we're playing 12 on the B string to 11 on the G string to 10 on the B string back to 12 on the B string. And what that's doing is it's outlining a B7 chord. So that second part then, nice and slow, goes like this. So the whole lick, nice and slow, goes like this. Okay, and then we're up to lick 9. So lick 9 now goes like this. Okay, and what we're doing there is we ended the previous lick on this B note, which is 12th fret B string. We're going to keep that note, but bend it slightly sharp so to hit the C notes, because C is in the key, is in the underlying chord, which is now gone from a B7, and now our underlying chord is a A minor. And what we're going to do is we're going to bend that B to C 3 times, and then walk down the pentatonic. So nice and slow, like this. Okay, so 3 times bending the 12th fret of the B string up a semitone, and then what we're going to do is we're going to play that again, but bend it up, bring it back down before then playing 10 on the B string, 12 on the G string, finally resting on 9 on the G string. So the whole lick, nice and slow. So now we're up to lick 10. Lick 10 goes like this. So lick 10, nice and slow. So having climbed all the way up the neck, getting right up to the 13th fret, or belt bending the 12th to the 13th fret right up here, we now jump right back down to where we started and end the lick here. And what we're doing is we're playing a lick, deliberately ending the lick on this B note here, because that's the note of the underlying chord, because this particular lick is playing over an E minor chord going to a B7 chord. So we're playing E minor lick ending on a B, because that's where the B7 is. Okay, what we're doing is we are sliding 2 to 4 on the G string, just like we've very first started in lick 1. 2 to 4, then hitting 3 on the B string before hitting 4 again on the G string. So that part nice and slow. And then what we're going to do is going to hit 4 again, slide down to 2 on the G string before hitting open on the G string. Then we're hitting 2 on the D string, open on the D string before ending with 2 on the A string. And that's our B note. And what you'll notice is, and I don't even realize I'm doing it, to be honest, sometimes for those open strings, I might pluck them, sometimes I might just pull them off. So I guess pulling them all off would like this. Or you can pick them all like this. Kind of however you feel like doing it. I probably do it different every time. Okay, so they're the licks. Let me turn this down. So those are the licks. I hope you found those useful. Let's talk now about underlying chord progression. So in this particular example, what I've been teaching, and what we've done is we've taken a standard 12-bar chord progression in the key of E, which you'd recognize and looks like something like this. And what we've done is we've simply changed all of the E chords and the A chords to become minor. So we change it so it looks like this. Right. So that's a fairly standard way of producing a minor key 12-bar blues. And it's probably the most common way that I've seen it done. Now, there are a few variations on this that you might come across if you go to like a jam night or something. Sometimes instead of the A that follows the B, sometimes that's also an A7 rather than A minor. So the chord progression would look like that. Okay, that's one variety. There's another variation where instead of playing a B7 to an A7 or an A minor, what we actually do is replace those two bars and play a C7 to a B7, and that looks like this. That's quite an interesting chord progression. I particularly like playing over that one. It's a bit more unusual. It's got a little bit more jazz because that C7 chord is going to kind of stand out a little bit more. Now, the other one that I've come across is there's a Robin Ford video, one of his REH videos that he made, where he plays a minor blues, and instead of making the 4 chord a minor, what he does is he plays the relative major. So in our case, in E minor, instead of going to the A7 chord or the A minor chord, in bars, what would that be, 5 and 6, Robin Ford would play a C over those. His particular example he does in the key of A minor, so it's like an A minor to an F, which when you put it in the key of E minor is an E minor to a C. So bars 5 and 6 would then become a C. I'll be honest, I've never seen that. In jam nights and things I've gone to, I've never seen that particular chord progression, but on his REH video, Robin Ford says that's a really common way of approaching a minor blues. Maybe one day I'll write a song using that chord progression, because it sounds nice, but it's not kind of something that you typically see. But obviously the most common 12-bar blues chord progression in a minor key that you're going to see is the one that I've taught in this particular lesson. So if those are the chord progressions, how would you kind of go about soloing it? How did I come up with this particular solo? Well, it's E minor pentatonic, and that's kind of all I used right up to what was it, lick 8 and lick 8 and lick 9, which are played over the B and the A. Now, you could just use E minor pentatonic over the entire chord progression. That'll work really well. That's probably what I do most of the time. But because we're addressing that B7 chord, when we get to lick 8, I deliberately chose to play something a little different. So on E minor, at this position would go like this. And what I've chosen to do is include this 11th fret of the E string. Okay, and what I've also done is then when I come down, so the E minor pentatonic is 9 to 12, then 10 to 12, and then 10 to 12. And what I'm doing is I'm just adding 2 notes to those. 11th fret top E string and 11th fret G string. So that's how we get this. And I'll be honest, I'm not really thinking in terms of scales. I start the lick thinking of the E minor scale. And then when I'm coming back down, I'm actually envisaging a B7 chord. So if you know your D chords here, D there or a D7. Now, if you bring that all the way up, you'd get the same chord shape, but in the B position. So this is a B, and this is a B7. So that little shape there, what I'm doing is I'm starting the lick thinking E minor pentatonic, and then when I'm coming back down, I'm abandoning the scale and I'm actually visualizing the shape of that B7 chord there, which, as I say, is just what we know as the D shape, just brought all the way up here. So that's why we add this note in, because you're getting that chord. Okay, so that's how I address the B chord there, the B7. I'm outlining this this B chord in my lick, ending on this note here, and then what the next chord is an A minor. So that's why I'm bending up, because if you think of an A minor chord here, this note, 13th fret, B string, that's part of your A minor. If you think of like an A minor down here, brought all the way up to here. So we're going from a B chord like this to an A minor chord like this. You notice it just goes up a half tone, so that's how we're able to do that. So what's happening is the underlying chord progression is going from a B down to an A, but we're going from a B up to a C. Okay, that's a little trick I like to use quite a lot. The chord progression goes down, but I'm particularly picking notes that go the other way. So the chord progression is going down from a B to an A. I'm picking notes going from B up to a C, because C is part of the underlying A minor key. So nice little trick. So the idea is using E minor for all of the the majority of the solo, and then for just those 2 chords, deliberately picking notes outside of the E minor pentatonic scale, but notes that are actually in the underlying chords to try and make it sound a bit more interesting. Okay, so that was all the licks, that was the chord progressions and the scales. The other thing to say about this is that you'll notice it climbed up the neck. What I did was I started in the different box positions, so I've gone a lick in box position 2, lick in box position 3, etc. Now, next video hopefully is going to be a full lesson on 5 box positions of the minor pentatonic. And in fact, I'm going to start like a series of videos where really digging into minor pentatonic scale, because I absolutely love it. I use it all the time. And once you dig into it, you can do an awful lot more with it than what you first thought. When I started playing and I learned the minor pentatonic scale, I thought, okay, that's fine, but it's just 5 notes and there's not a lot you can do with there. Actually, when we get into pentatonic substitutions and things, some other concepts that I'll bring into the lessons, you can do an awful lot with minor pentatonic. So you're not going to be just stuck in one position, learn it all over the neck, and then use it in different ways to give you different voicings and some interesting things. So that's a little taster of some of the lessons that are coming in the future, and that's kind of why I built this solo the way I did, climbing up the neck, to show that once you know your box positions, you can do that even though it's all just the same minor pentatonic. Okay, hope you liked that lesson. Please hit like, please hit subscribe if you want to share this with your friends. please do. Check out the backing track. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again.